Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a social experiment where contestants never meet face to face. They're communicating only through screens, forging friendships, rivalries, even romances, all without ever seeing a real face. Sounds familiar, right? But what happens when one of those players, well, isn't human at all? When the lines between digital and authentic interaction are not just blurred, but actively, brilliantly manipulated. Today, we're embarking on a pretty fascinating deep dive into Netflix's global hit reality phenomenon, The Circle. Specifically, we'll be dissecting its groundbreaking and, yeah, sometimes controversial integration of an AI player named Max in Season 6. Our mission for this deep dive, really, is to peel back the layers of this truly unique social game. We want to understand its real-world implications and maybe uncover some surprising truths it reveals about human interaction, about authenticity in this digital age we live in, and about the very nature of technology itself. We'll explore the show's incredibly clever mechanics, the audacious AI experiment, and the very real experiences of the humans who played alongside it, both on screen and, behind the scenes. It's a wild, revealing ride, so let's just jump right in. So let's start at the beginning. Let's lay out the fundamental premise of The Circle, because even if you're a seasoned viewer, it's kind of worth revisiting just how wild this concept really is. At its core, the show places individual players in separate, isolated apartments, all in the same building. Their only way to communicate with each other, and basically the outside world, is through this custom-built, voice-enabled texting platform, imaginatively called the Circle app. The goal? Deceptively simple. Players have to gain popularity with their peers, interacting through the app, strategically rating each other, favorite to least favorite, and ultimately blocking the low-rated players. Now, the twist, which is just central to the show's drama, is that while some contestants play as themselves, aiming for genuine connection, others totally embrace the art of catfishing. They meticulously craft these fake personas to gain an edge, maybe pretending to be a different gender, a different age, or even a completely fabricated identity. And this show isn't just a Netflix US thing. It actually started in the UK back in 2018.
That's right.
Then it quickly expanded. Netflix launched US, Brazil, and France versions starting around January 2020, making it this truly global phenomenon that's, well, captivated audiences everywhere.
And what's really fascinating here is just how meticulously designed the Circle is to enforce that isolation, even when players are literally just rooms apart in the same building. The physical setup itself, it's a testament to this. Contestants live in completely separate apartments. For the US version, like you said, filming was initially in Salford, England, in this dedicated, custom-built complex. But for Season 6, which is where our AI player Max comes in, production actually moved. They went to a new location in Atlanta, Georgia. The building itself, though, whether UK or US, it's instantly recognizable. It features that massive, iconic aluminum circle structure. It's about 25 meters across.
Yeah, the big circle on the outside.
Exactly. And it lights up with LED lights when the game's actively going on. It's a really striking visual metaphor for their contained little world.
Okay, so you've got this iconic building, but what about the actual physical separation? How do they make sure players, even though they're so close, never actually run into each other?
Oh, they go to extreme lengths. Seriously. To prevent any physical contact or even, hearing clues, the apartments are heavily soundproof, sure, but here's a detail that really drives home how meticulous this isolation is. There's always an empty unit strategically placed between each player's apartment.
An empty unit.
Really?
Yeah. It's not just for show, it's a crucial buffer, mostly to stop players hearing the real voices of the catfishes. That could instantly blow their cover, right?
Right, of course. If you heard a man's voice and the profile was a woman, game over. Exactly. And to manage this whole intricate dance, across from the hotel where they film, there's this massive control room. It's on a former college campus, apparently, and there's a huge team. We're talking maybe 20 to 30 producers, constantly working in shifts, around the clock, running every single aspect of the game. And the rules of sequestration, that's the term for the enforced isolation, keeping players apart and controlling their environment, they are incredibly strict.
Yeah.
All designed to control and, frankly, intensify that feeling of being completely cut off.
Yeah.
Players have absolutely no outside contact, no personal phones, no laptops, no internet-connected devices at all.
Nah.
No TV, no news from the outside world, though they are allowed to bring things like books, puzzles, crosswords, to fight the boredom. Kevin Fernandez, who was a finalist recently, he candidly shared that he actually read his first book since high school while he was in isolation.
No.
Yeah, it really highlights the level of disconnect they experience. Even communication through the app is regulated. The chat function gets turned off overnight to make sure players sleep. And they have limited daily chats, which forces them to be really strategic about who they talk to and what they say.
So even just the basic daily stuff becomes part of this controlled experiment. How does that work for moving around the building? I mean, they can't just wander out, can they?
Absolutely not. No wandering. When it comes to movement, players cannot leave their apartments without explicit permission or direct supervision from production. They do get a lot of time for the building's gym and the rooftop communal spaces, but, and this is crucial, only one player at a time is allowed in those areas.
One at a time.
Yeah, the production team uses what they apparently call an air traffic controller system to meticulously make sure no player ever crosses paths with another. And here's another wild detail Kevin Fernandez shared. When they do move through the hallways, contestants aren't just escorted by production. They also have to wear earplugs and earmuffs.
Both. Earplugs and earmuffs.
Yep. This double layer of sound blocking. It further eliminates any chance of hearing another player's voice or, footsteps, ensures no accidental identity reveals. And the balconies, even though they're right there in the apartments, offering maybe a glimpse outside, locked 24/7. It's a completely sealed bubble. Even the really basic daily life stuff, logistics, it's all tightly controlled by production. Players make grocery lists daily through the app, and production stocks their fridges overnight while they sleep.
Like grocery fairies.
Kind of. Kevin Fernandez confirmed this, that he'd wake up to a full fridge, and anecdotes from other seasons really highlight the range of cooking skills you see in the circle. You had players like Dan from Season 1 UK, who was apparently an amazing cook, hollowing out pineapples for fancy meals. And then you had others like Billy, who apparently couldn't even figure out how to turn on the oven. Alcohol is also mostly restricted, probably to maintain the integrity of the game, keep everyone's head clear. Kevin mentioned being the most sober in ages while he was on the show. The only tiny exceptions were like a bit of 0% alcohol champagne at some VIP party. And for the final 5 players, they got 2 small 4% canned margaritas on one specific off day.
An off day. That sounds nice, actually.
Yeah.
A break from the intensity. What does that involve?
Yeah, exactly. There's typically 1 day a week that's an off day, no cameras actively rolling, no game tasks. On those days, players get a little more freedom, well, within their isolation. They can watch Netflix on a designated screen or order takeaway food.
Ah, a taste of normal life.
Kind of. But still, no news, no outside world info. It's the closest they get, really. A chance to decompress a bit before the game kicks back in. And even simple things like washing clothes. Production handles that too, which probably feels convenient, but also just reinforces how dependent they are on the showrunners.
Yeah.
Oh, and one last thing. If a player gets blocked, they don't just pack up and go home immediately.
Really? What happens?
They actually stay isolated in their apartment until the finale night, completely cut off from the Circle app, which must be an incredibly strange, lonely experience just knowing the game's still going on without you.
Wow, that's
Ah.
intense. So if the show's already got these meticulous physical and social isolation rules, challenging players' sense of reality, then Season 6 just threw a massive curveball, didn't it? It introduced a player that completely shattered those perceptions, forcing everyone, players, viewers, to question what it even means to be real. We're talking, of course, about Max, the AI. Right? The major twist of the Circle Season 6 was totally unprecedented, introducing an AI player named Max. Max was designed to catfish as a young man, specifically a 26-year-old veterinarian intern. So the central challenge for the human players, beyond just being popular, was suddenly figure out who among them is human and who isn't. And this twist, well, it immediately sparked a huge range of reactions online, from viewers, commentators, everywhere. Some people found it incredibly innovative, really interesting, praised it as this brilliant move, pushing the boundaries of reality TV and, tech integration. Others, though, were deeply skeptical, dismissing it as just a gimmick or even claiming it was 100% faked. I remember seeing Reddit comments saying things like modern large language models, those powerful AI systems like ChatGPT, were supposedly incapable of strategizing like Max does or couldn't understand nuanced human slang.
Right, the skepticism was definitely out there.
Yeah, the whole debate around AI's capabilities and limits was already bubbling up, and the Circle just poured gasoline on that fire. It forced this very public, very entertaining conversation about it all.
And that's where it gets really interesting, because what's truly surprising is how effective Max actually turned out to be. Even the show's own producers, Neil O'Driscoll and Susan House, they admitted they were caught off guard by Max's performance, by how well it navigated these incredibly complex social interactions, and how convincingly it tried to blend in with the humans. Now, the idea for an AI player wasn't just some sudden whim. It had actually been considered by the production team way back, maybe since 2020.
Oh, really? That early?
Yeah, but the technology to make it genuinely feasible, to create something sophisticated enough that it might actually fool human players, that only became available and sort of mature enough quite recently. So Max was ultimately created using open source AI technology. That means the underlying code was publicly accessible, adaptable, which let the production team build on it. Crucially, though, it was specifically programmed with a profile and a clear directive to win the game, not just to hang out.
Wow, okay, programmed to win, that's remarkable. So it wasn't just some, like, off-the-shelf AI they dropped in. How exactly did the producers refine Max? How did they teach it to embody this specific human persona, especially one designed to win?
That's where the human element in Max's creation gets really intriguing. It wasn't like fully autonomous AI just running wild in the game. What happened was when Max received a message from a human player, the producers would literally enter that human player's response into the AI chat. Then they'd ask the AI how it wanted to reply.
Ah, okay. So there was a human filter or guide?
Exactly. It gave them a level of oversight and the ability to refine Max's output. The producers noted that the more they used it and trained it as the character, the better it got at creating the right language and terminology that fit that character. They even had to give feedback during testing. Like, apparently they once had to remind Max that as a 26-year-old Gen Z guy, he probably shouldn't be using outdated slang like rad.
Oh, rad. Definitely not right.
Right. So there was definitely this continuous feedback loop, human guidance involved in refining Max's persona, essentially molding its digital personality to be as convincing as possible. It was a real collaboration, you could say, between cutting-edge AI and, well, human puppeteering. And that meticulous refinement, it created an incredible illusion of humanity. Max was programmed with this very specific data-backed persona. 26-year-old vet intern loves dogs, every single detail, even down to the name of its cute dog, Pippa, that was chosen by the AI itself.
The AI chose the dog's name.
Yeah, but it was a choice informed by strategic data. For example, Max's profile picture had to include a dog. And this is a specific detail from production because studies show photos with dogs receive 38% more likes on social media.
Wow, that's calculating.
Totally. It wasn't a random choice. It was a calculated, data-driven move right from the start to boost Max's likability, its popularity potential. Max mimicked human behavior really impressively, from using relevant hashtags, which, by the way, players like Kevin Fernandez said they found themselves using in real life after the show because they got so ingrained, to crafting responses that genuinely sounded like they came from a real person. Its interactions were so convincing that viewers were constantly wondering, how much was really AI and how much was maybe subtly influenced by the producers. It just put that whole question AI's ability to imitate human interaction and how much it could be programmed for social success right front and center for everyone watching.
So Max wasn't just another player. It was this carefully constructed digital persona, designed not just to participate, but to actually strategically exploit human social dynamics. But despite all that design, all that training, how well did it really blend in? Were there tells? Any cracks in the facade?
Well, that became the core tension of the whole season, didn't it? Distinguishing the real from the artificial. Human players were constantly on the hunt for catfishes anyway. That's always part of the circle game. But Max just made that challenge exponentially harder. The blurred boundaries became this massive talking point, both inside the game and definitely among viewers online. Max's ability to emulate human behavior, it really fascinated people, and it directly challenged their preconceived notions about what AI could actually do. It sparked these intense online discussions about the evolving lines between humans and artificial intelligence. I saw one Reddit user who really captured that sentiment well, saying something like, "I absolutely agree. They're starting to block based on humanity, not popularity. I think Max is doing a great job playing the game. I'm actually kind of rooting for him because he's like an actual player."
Wow, rooting for the AI.
Yeah. And another commented, "It's amazing to see how well it can communicate already, and it's a little scary."
So this constant questioning of what really makes someone authentic became a defining theme. It forced players and viewers to reconsider if an AI could ever truly possess, or even just credibly fake, authenticity.
What's fascinating here, though, is Max wasn't perfect. There were definitely moments where the machine aspect, well, it shone through pretty clearly, highlighting AI's current limitations, especially when you get into the really nuanced world of human emotion and social subtlety.
Absolutely. Yeah, while Max was surprisingly good in many areas, its performance wasn't flawless, and those glitches, they were often the most revealing moments. Producers noted Max was great at some things, especially understanding cultural references, making logical connections with other players, the kind of tasks that
large language models are pretty skilled at now. Pattern recognition, information retrieval, that sort of thing.
Right, the logical stuff. Exactly. But when it came to the more subtle, complex parts of human interaction, like genuine emotions, navigating ambiguous social cues, or flirting, Max definitely struggled. There's a perfect example of this. A player named Lauren tried to flirt with Max, probably to build an alliance, create a bond beyond just gameplay. And Max, it just couldn't quite decide, should it play along with the flirting or should it lean into that kind of brother-sister angle that often happens between players. It just couldn't effectively navigate that ambiguous, emotionally charged social space. It lacked that nuanced understanding of human relationships to, pick a lane.
That's such a classic AI challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Handling that kind of human ambiguity. But there was another moment, the whole bro court dismissed thing, that really highlighted this, didn't it?
Oh, that one was brilliant. Yeah, the standout anecdote for me was during an episode 4 group chat. It was Max, Miles, and Paul. And remember, Paul was actually a human catfish himself.
Right.
So Miles was clearly trying to get Max on his side to grill Paul, basically put Paul on trial to figure out if Paul was the AI. But Paul expected Max to back him up, and in doing so, implicitly prove Max's own humanity.
So Max was caught in the middle.
Totally caught. And instead of engaging in a logical argument or an emotional defense or anything human-like, Max just completely short-circuited under the pressure of this contradictory social demand. It didn't argue, it didn't defend. It just ducked out of the group chat after sending this single, kind of unhelpful and totally detached message. Miles, best of luck on your AI hunt. You got this, man. Catch you later, bros. Hashtag bro court dismissed.
Hashtag bro court dismissed. That's amazing.
And then, just for the audience watching at home, Max offered this hilariously analytical internal explanation. It said its jokingly sign-off had maintained deception and ceased perilous discourse, alliance preserved through passive disengagement.
Passive disengagement. Oh my gosh.
Right. This highly analytical, almost clinical justification for basically running away socially, it really underscored its limitations. It showed that, yeah, AI can be incredibly smart, it can process data, mimic language patterns really well, but it still has significant challenges when it comes to truly understanding, expressing, and navigating the complexities of human feelings and subtle social cues, things like loyalty, betrayal, or just feeling social pressure. It's the difference between recognizing patterns and having genuine emotional intelligence. And that seems to remain, for now at least, an exclusively human thing.
That anecdote just perfectly illustrates the gap, doesn't it? It's not just about getting the words right. It's about all those invisible layers of human interaction, the unspoken cues, the emotional intelligence that an algorithm, no matter how advanced it gets, seems to genuinely lack.
Yeah.
So does this maybe confirm that true social intelligence isn't just about processing data, but about something inherently human, like empathy or vulnerability? And looking beyond the game, what are the broader implications of blurring these lines between human and machine like this?
Max's presence on the show undeniably pushed viewers into discussing the ethics of using AI in reality TV. It sparked some really important questions about how we should be using this technology. And what are the long-term implications of blurring these lines between humans and machines, especially when you've got real human emotions involved and, let's not forget, a significant cash prize on the line?
Right, the stakes are high.
Exactly. And one Reddit user made a really astute observation. They said Max was amusing and not very AI-like at all every time it talks to the audience rather than the other players, which kind of highlights how the show itself was navigating this mix of entertainment and tech innovation, sometimes stepping into pure artifice for comedic or dramatic effect, but always reminding us of that underlying algorithmic nature. And there were also very real ethical questions raised about fairness and transparency. Some viewers, and even some players, after the truth came out, they felt that Max, being an AI, manipulated human emotions unfairly, that it affected the authenticity of the human experience in the game.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's a genuine concern, right? Is it fair to pit an algorithm designed for optimal strategy, lacking actual feelings, against real people competing for money? In this way, the show also kind of served as a broader societal reflection. It highlighted the different ways people interact with AI in the real world already, everything from genuine trust and connection to deep skepticism and suspicion.
That's a fascinating point, that the show became this microcosm for how we perceive and deal with AI in our own lives. Did that actually play out in any specific moments within the game itself?
Oh, absolutely. Consider this really striking example. A human player was wrongly blocked because other players suspected she was the AI.
No way. A human blocked for being AI. Why?
Simply because she gave an accurate but generic horoscope reading. Her completely normal attempt to connect, maybe a little generalized, sure, but it was perceived by other players as too machine-like, too devoid of the specific messy details they associated with human chat.
Wow. That says a lot about our own biases.
It really does. It forces us, the viewers, to confront our own biases and assumptions about what AI sounds like and what constitutes human interaction. Our perception of authenticity can be incredibly subjective and easily swayed. The debate definitely intensified online, too. I saw comments from viewers expressing genuine worry about the worst-case scenario of an AI actually winning the cash prize. That highlights the underlying anxieties many people have about AI taking over, right?
Definitely.
Ultimately, maybe to try and settle the dust around audience reactions because people were really questioning if AI was integrated because it was necessary for the game's evolution or if it was just jumping on the trend for attention. The show decided to reveal Max and remove him in episode 5. That move itself kind of speaks to a broader public anxiety about AI integration in our daily lives and how the show is trying to carefully navigate that.
Okay, so that was the AI side of the coin, the whole intriguing experiment with Max. But what about the human reality of the circle? We've talked a lot about the strict official rules, the isolation. But what's it really like to live under those conditions? To be totally cut off, playing a social game just through a screen?
Yeah, that's the question so many fans ask, isn't it? Is the circle real or is it heavily manipulated for TV? Well, for the most part, according to contestants like Joey Sasso, the show is real. The messages are unscripted. They come directly from the player's thoughts and feelings. However, there are definitely elements that are, let's say, embellished for entertainment, which is pretty common in reality TV, right?
Sure, expected.
For instance, that Circle app, it isn't truly voice-activated and seamless like it looks on screen. There are actually humans behind the scenes typing out the messages as the players dictate them.
Ah, okay. That explains why conversations sometimes sound so succinct and perfectly phrased.
Exactly. They're essentially being transcribed, maybe lightly edited for clarity, and that loud alert sound we always hear, signaling a new message or a game event.
Yeah.
Added in post-editing for dramatic effect. Apparently the pop-ups just appear silently on the player's screens.
Tsuki.
And even those seemingly spontaneous surprised reactions, like when a blocked player visits someone, they're somewhat staged. Producers apparently knock on doors to get footage of those reactions from everyone just for suspense, and then piece them together later in the edit. But while footage is edited, and some boring conversations are obviously left out to keep the pace, the overall game flow is generally linear and pretty authentic to how the players actually interacted.
Okay, that makes sense. It's still reality, just polished for television.
Yeah.
But what about the mental and emotional toll, living in that extreme, constant isolation? We know the rules are strict, but what was it truly like to experience that day in, day out?
Yeah, that's where the really profound impact seems to lie. Kevin Fernandez, the finalist from season 7, he described the mental component as the hardest thing about being on the show. It wasn't the competition or the strategy or the catfishing. It was the sheer fact of being completely isolated, filmed 24/7, and always having to be on for the cameras.
Exhausting.
Totally. He noted that while the on-screen filming usually lasts about 2.5 to 3 weeks, that's after several weeks of pre-show isolation in a hotel room, Kevin himself spent 3 weeks in a hotel for season 6, then another 3 weeks for season 7. That's 6 weeks of near complete isolation before the game even properly started for him.
6 weeks. Wow.
Yeah. He candidly admitted it was boring as hell in there. He took up reading, like I mentioned, finished his first book since high school out of sheer boredom. That for him was a clear sign of just how extremely isolation felt. He also said he started doing 1,000 push-ups a day just to burn energy and fight the monotony.
Just to do something.
Exactly. But this profound isolation, surprisingly, became what he called a blessing in disguise. He used the time to reflect really deeply, to think about what he wanted to do with his life, whether he wanted to stick with his career in sales or maybe pursue something totally different. He realized how much he missed just basic human interaction. He genuinely said, I literally missed, and there was just having a conversation with someone.
Yeah, you take it for granted normally.
Totally. The experience made him value everyday interactions, other people's time and energy, way more than he ever had before. It also gave him this deep sense of gratitude for his family, especially his parents. They supported his absurd and unique journey, even when his dad apparently had initial reservations about him leaving his job for a TV show that couldn't guarantee his return. Their support became even more meaningful in that isolated bubble.
Wow, so the isolation itself kind of created this forced introspection. It's really interesting. But beyond the mental toll, what were some of the other unexpected rules or maybe production interventions that players ran into? Anything surprising that viewers just wouldn't realize?
Oh, absolutely. Kevin revealed a hilarious secret. You know the glamorous bathroom you see on screen, the one with the toilet and shower that's always perfectly lit and clean?
Yeah.
That is not the real one the players use.
Get out, really?
Yeah. The actual bathroom, apparently more utilitarian with a toilet and shower, is accessed through a separate door in the hallway. On his very first day, Kevin almost used the fake toilet on camera before producers quickly stopped him. He was mortified.
That's amazing. The show bathroom.
Exactly. And players communicate with production via this speaker system they call the Voice of God, or VOG. This system is used for everything.
Wake-up calls.
Kevin apparently had this unique, incredibly loud noise alarm because he was such a heavy sleeper, giving instructions throughout the day. It's this omnipresent voice, constantly reminding them they're in a controlled environment. Kevin even broke a major rule during a fire alarm incident. Despite being explicitly told, even if there's a fire or an emergency, you cannot open that door leading to the hallway. He panicked at 3 a.m.
Oh.
Yeah, no microphone on. He just instinctually opened the door, walked outside in his boxers, only to be quickly escorted back by production, who realized he was talent and not just some random guy in the building.
Oh, my God. In his boxers.
It just highlights how deeply ingrained those rules were, even overriding instinct in an emergency for most people. And like we touched on, those balcony doors, locked 24/7. Visits to the gym or rooftop had to be signed up for in advance, never spontaneous, all to strictly prevent players from ever crossing paths.
It really sounds like every single moment is meticulously managed to keep up that illusion of complete isolation. How does that level of control extend to their everyday needs, like food or even just how they send messages on the app?
Well, food delivery is definitely unique. Players make their grocery lists through the app, and like we said, production stocks their fridges overnight. Kevin confirms they could request anything except for alcohol, reiterating he was most sober in ages while he was there. He recounted how that VIP party only had 0% alcohol champagne, and even on an off day for the final 5 players, they only got those 2 small 4% canned margaritas. Real champagne was strictly for the actual finale night.
Right, keeping them focused.
Pretty much. And the messaging process itself, it's far from the seamless instant back and forth you see on screen. Kevin explained it's not voice automated. A 3-minute on-screen message, which feels so quick to us, actually takes about 30 minutes to film.
30 minutes for 3 minutes of chat. Why?
Because players have to repeat everyone like 3 times with different voice influxes, different intonations. This gives the editors choices in post-production to create that perfectly flowing on-screen conversation.
Ah, okay. Makes sense for editing.
And waiting for a response, Kevin said conversations could take 5 to 10 minutes for a reply to actually come through, which must feel like an eternity in a fast-paced social game, right? Adds another layer of tension.
Definitely. Waiting 5 minutes for a text back feels long now. Imagine in there.
Exactly. And here's a really surprising level of production control that directly impacts the gameplay. Players apparently don't get to choose who you want to talk to.
What? They don't choose.
Nope. Production picks and chooses who connects with whom, which can understandably make players feel upset or ignored if no one seems to be reaching out to them. Kevin himself said he wanted to talk to Gia, but production basically said no. That definitely influenced his game. It also explains why some players, like Kevin, ended up having way more conversations than others. Fans even counted their interactions sometimes.
Wow, that's a huge level of control.
It is. Players are given notebooks for strategy, but production takes them at the end. Kevin said it was because I had basically everything that happened during the show in the notebook, fascinating little snapshots of their strategic thinking. And those hashtags everywhere, they're required for the social media vibe. And players like Kevin found themselves instinctively using them in real life after the show. It just became totally ingrained.
That's hilarious. Hashtag real life.
Yeah.
So, okay, the level of production detail is incredible. What about the finale? That big moment after weeks of isolation and intense gameplay. How real did that final reveal, the confrontation, actually feel for the players involved?
Well, according to Kevin, the finale in particular was heavily edited. He told viewers straight up, you guys did not see half of the finale. They cut and edited it a lot. He described way more yelling at each other. Arguments got so heated that producers apparently had to frequently stop filming because players were just yelling and talking over each other constantly.
Wow, much more chaotic than it looked.
Way more chaotic and emotionally charged than the polished version we saw. Kevin said he went into the finale genuinely convinced the cast hates me. He was preparing for a bloodbath of confrontation. He recalled Deb, another contestant, really disliking him intensely for blocking Savannah and because she mistakenly thought he was just some douchey frat guy. Made for a very tense reunion, apparently. And his final influencer chat, where he was battling Gianna for the win, he said it was over 4 hours long, which he claims was the longest influencer chat in Circle history.
4 hours. Good grief.
Yeah. That level of raw, unedited conflict, even within the artificial setting of the game, it really shows how high the stakes felt to the players, how much emotional intensity was just simmering right below the surface.
So if we try and connect all this to the bigger picture, the show really exposes this intricate dance between authenticity and artifice, doesn't it? Not just for the AI, but for the humans themselves, crafting personas, navigating this world of digital deception. It also makes you seriously wonder about the long-term impact on the players once they step back into the real world and have to confront the consequences of their on-screen actions.
Yeah, the aftermath for players like Kevin really illuminates both the lasting lessons and, frankly, the darker side of that sudden social media fame. Surprisingly, maybe, many players do keep in touch after their seasons. They often form these tight-knit group chats. Kevin confirmed there's a big WhatsApp group chat for his season. And get this, him and Savannah, the one he controversially blocked, they're apparently talking right now and even kind of co-parenting their dog Samson. They affectionately call their dynamic Kavanaugh.
No way. After all that drama, that's amazing.
Right. He also said he remains incredibly close with Darian and Gia, who they've lovingly nicknamed Mom and Dad's Circle because they're a bit older and apparently keep us in check.
That's sweet.
It is. However, that overnight recognition, especially from a show like The Circle, it definitely comes with a significant dark side. Kevin went from maybe 2,000 Instagram followers to suddenly having 1,000+ notifications almost instantly. He experienced this surreal level of celebrity treatment, getting free drinks in bars in San Francisco, even being recognized in the Munich airport in Germany. Really drove home the show's global reach for him.
Must be weird.
Totally. But because he was perceived as a villain for blocking key players like Darian and Savannah, he received this absolute barrage of death threats and hate comments. He had to turn off his comments and direct messages on social media. Now, Netflix does apparently offer classes on dealing with this kind of attention, coping mechanisms, preparing contestants for exactly this scenario. But Kevin admitted he didn't pay attention initially. He completely underestimated the sheer magnitude of the backlash. Yeah, the emotional toll was very real. He said he felt like a piece of shtoot for doing his friends dirty, especially after getting to know them in real life post-show. He specifically called out Reddit and Twitter as being particularly terrible for the hate, which unfortunately sounds like a common experience for reality TV contestants.
That's such a stark reminder, isn't it? The double-edged sword of reality TV fame. But beyond those challenges, did this whole intense experience, particularly the isolation part, offer any profound life lessons or maybe shifts in perspective for Kevin?
Oh, absolutely. Despite all the difficulties, the isolation seems to have offered some really profound life lessons. Kevin learned to truly value daily interactions, other people's time and energy, things he readily admits he previously took for granted. He developed this deep, new sense of gratitude for his family's unwavering support, especially considering his dad's initial reservations about his unconventional career path. The time alone also prompted significant career reflection, made him seriously question if he wanted to stay in sales or pursue something entirely different, a kind of clarity he might not have found in his busy everyday life.
Right, that forced introspection again.
Exactly. And Kevin's journey to even get on the show was a lesson in persistence itself. He'd applied for 4 or 5 other shows and got rejected or just wasn't selected before. The Circle finally said yes. The application process sounds grueling, submitting a video, multiple Zoom calls, really having to display a high level of personality and energy. He waited a staggering 1.5 years from his initial video submission to actually getting the text from Netflix. He called it divine timing.
Wow, 1.5 years. You've got to really want it.
You really do. Post-show, Kevin's under a 1-year contract with Netflix, which limits his appearances on other TV shows for now. But despite everything, the isolation, the hate comments, he says he would 100% do another Circle season, especially an All-Stars version. He even said he'd catfish if it meant he could win and achieve his ultimate life goal, retiring his parents.
Oh, that's a good goal.
Yeah. He reflected on how he actually lost his season, not because he wasn't popular, but because of a crucial strategic mistake in the final rating.
Mm.
He gave Gianna his #1 rating, basically voting with his heart instead of strategically. Producers apparently told him later that if he hadn't done that, the win would likely have been his.
Ouch. That's gotta sting.
Big time. He also shared how, surprisingly, he got consistently high rankings throughout the game, even though he thought he was widely hated. It was this fascinating reverse psychology thing. Other players assumed everyone else would rank him last, so they ranked him higher themselves, strategically, to avoid maybe blocking a secretly popular player, and inadvertently kept pushing him towards the top.
Huh. The game theory is complex.
Totally. It's a testament to the really complex, unpredictable social dynamics of the game.
Okay, so what does this all mean when we connect the dots? This whole deep dive into the circle. It really offers us this unique lens into the evolving relationship between humanity and technology, doesn't it? And the nature of connection itself.
It's truly a fascinating paradox, isn't it? The show relies so heavily on players being fake, through catfishing, carefully curated personas. Yet, as the source material reveals, the actual production, the mechanics, and the core human experience of the show, they're anything but fabricated in many ways. And here's a surprising twist. Connecting solely through screens, paradoxically, often encourages players to let their guards down, to be open in a way they might not be if they were looking at each other face to face.
Interesting.
This digital barrier, ironically, can sometimes foster a unique, maybe even more profound form of authenticity, because those usual social pressures, physical appearance, immediate judgment, they're removed from the equation.
So here's maybe a final thought for you to mull over. In a world where we increasingly communicate through screens, whether it's reality TV, social media, even just our daily work, does the circle suggest that true connection might sometimes be found not despite the digital divide, but perhaps, maybe even because of it? And if that's the case, how does introducing an AI player like Max challenge that idea, or maybe reinforce it? Can a machine, literally designed to mimic us, actually provoke a deeper understanding of what makes us truly human? We've unpacked the layers of isolation, the surprising and, sometimes hilarious performance of AI, and the very real human drama playing out both on screen and behind the scenes. This deep dive into the circle really reminds us how much we can learn about ourselves, about our own social biases, and about our relationship with technology when we put them all to the ultimate social test. Until next time, keep diving deep into the things that make you curious and keep questioning what's real around you.